David, we are live, right? David?
Yes, Dania, please.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, David. So, good evening, folks. Welcome to the Transformative Learning session. I'm Dhanya, and I've been working in the learning design field for almost 20 years. Currently, I'm a director in the Digital Learning Experience Lab in Goa. Now, last week, my colleague Nupur did a very detailed session on how to create immersive customer experience, the process for it and all. So this session, I would like to continue that. So here I wish to focus more on immersive experiences from a corporate training perspective, not from a customer, more from corporate training. Now, this is a very overview type session. So we will start with a small introduction on the different types of immersive learning environment, but we will focus more on when each type of environment is relevant, when we can recommend a solution, and what are some of the points that we should keep in mind when we recommend a solution. And finally, we will end our session with some generic best practices that we should consider when designing any type of immersive experiences. So most of I plan to show a few examples. Many of them we have created some POCs, so we could showcase them to you to help you put in context to the examples that I'm saying. So bear with me and hope that you will find this 35-40 minutes fruitful and well spent. So let's get started. Yeah. So what do we plan to do? I have already mentioned this. So we plan to discuss the different types of immersive learning environments, okay, how to zero in on an effective solution and some best practices. So I've already explained this in detail. Now let's start with what is an immersive learning experience. Most of the people who are attending this training is already aware of it, but just to, to ensure that all of us are on the same page, let's try to answer that question. Now, as instructional designers, our biggest challenge is to capture learners' attention and retain it. Retain the engagement aspect of the learning is very critical for us, because the more engaged the learners are, the better they retain what they have learned, which is what we want, right? There needs to be some performance improvements based on the training. So that happens only if the learners are engaged. Now, these days with the Gen Z and all, normal web-based trainings with click interactivities, drag and drops, they are no longer impactful or effective. So that's where the immersive learning programs come to play. Now, these, why they are called immersive, basically because they bring in real life or replicate real life environment to the learners, and they allow learners to interact with them, either virtually or in the physical world. Now, like I said, it's either virtual, real, or maybe a mix of virtual and real as well. Now, how does it help from a training design perspective? Now, as training designers, we know the learning environment that we are going to present to the learners. We're very clear about it. So we know it to a T. We know exactly what the learners would see, how they would react, or we should have ideally considered how they would react and what should be the response to it. So all these, it's a controlled environment. Now, from a learner side, you're inside the learning environment, right? As a learner, I'm inside it. There are no distractions. I interact with the environment. I can very coolly make mistakes. I learn from it. There is no judgment, and I learn at my own pace. I interact and learn at my pace. That's the biggest thing. Now, if we look at it from a business perspective, it's possible to, track the progress of the learners, it's possible basically to get the data analytics required to ensure that whether the training is fruitful or not, or what should be done. If it's not fruitful, what should be done to ensure that certain gaps are filled. So if we look at from all the angles, it's a win-win situation. Now let's move on to what are the types of learning environments that we currently have, immersive experiences that we have. So we have 360-degree videos. We have augmented reality or AR, I would say, virtual reality VR, or we have a mixed reality, which is MR. So these are the 4 types which we will discuss in today's session. Now, let me start with the 360 videos. Now, 360 videos, the best part is it's the simplest among the lot. This basically, like the image that is shown on the screen, we are showing a 360 photo of an environment, or a 360 video of an environment. So just like in real life, like we can stand there, we can turn around and see what's happening around us. The learners are placed in an environment and they can turn around and see what's happening. So it allows them the freedom to explore the environment a lot. Now, because of this capability, this is basically used for virtual tours. So, for instance, you have like maybe in one of our clients, they had a huge yard, and the learners they felt that when we say yard, the learners are not able to understand or comprehend the width and breadth of the yard, like how huge they are, how the vehicles are, how safety is important to them, how serious the situation could be. So in that instances, instead of saying that the yard is huge, you have this on this side, on that side, we can show a 360 video, or if you want to say how busy or how noisy an environment is, a factory environment is, instead of saying it as noisy in your web-based training, you can shoot a 360 video, give it to the learners. They see the real environment with the real noise. So they will, it creates a lasting impact on them. And the best part is many of the e-learning development tools, they support this 360 videos and 360 photographs. So you can very easily create SCORM packages out of it. And so if you're looking at an immersive solution for a virtual tour, but cost is a concern, then this is a preferred choice. Let me take you through an example, okay, of a virtual tour with a video, and where we have used a simpler one with a photograph as well. So going to the one with a video. So this is a YouTube video. Just bear with me, the advertisement. Okay. Now, this is a 360 video. You can see this is a shipyard. They are basically, the purpose of this video was to explain on the vessel that was launched there, that basically it's trying to explain this vessel. But as a learner, I'm standing here, right? I'm seeing the entire yard. I'm seeing what's happening in the yard and all. And look at it, it's talking about, so you can add text like this along with the audio. You're displaying text, you're zooming in, you're bringing focus to the areas that you need. So it's exactly like I'm standing there and I'm looking at this vessel. So it causes that effect, which is lasting, and the learning is also, you wouldn't forget easily. So that's one of the primary plus point of using this. Now, moving on to our next one, I'll show you a simpler one where we are using a virtual tour of an image. Now, guys, this is just a POC for our things. So you need to, excuse me for the image. So here we have used an image, 360 image of a room. So, and we have used a storyline to develop this, which means it is fairly simple to create this e-learning part of it. Now, how this is immersive is, again, I'm inside the room. Okay, I'm standing in the middle of the room. I'm looking at the room in a 360 degree. Now I can add hotspots like this. So I click it, it can play a video. Hold on. I need to close this. Can you see my screen? And I can drag it. I can move on to the next screen. So can do the navigation part of it. I can click on various aspects and learn more about it. So all these are possible. This is the simplest among the lot. This is the 360. Now, what we have to keep in mind when we are going for the solution is, though we have, our mobile phones have the capability to click 360-degree images, or we can shoot 360 videos. Now, my experience in working with this, we need to do a very thorough research and be clear about the camera that we are going to use. Like, for instance, let's take the example of the yard. Okay, how far do you want, what you want to show? How far do you want that camera to be placed? What all detailed items need to be captured in a scene? So all these things need to be considered, and it is either you need to do a thorough research and be somewhat an expert in it, or get an expert advice on what would work best. So that's very critical in this. Now, that is about the virtual tours. Now let's move on to the next one. Okay. This is virtual world over a real world. That is augmented reality. Now, what is AR? AR it's more like, now we learned the 360 image now, right? We talked about it. Now in AR, we basically superimpose a virtual world over a real world. So the learners are still able to see the real world, the 360 world, but they also see objects that are placing in it. You're talking about objects, okay? Now, most of the cases, these objects are all created in 3D, and they are, it's more like, there are various types of AR tracking, like we can have motion tracking where you move and then that is tracked, or you can have marker tracking, which is very, very often used. Like, for example, virtual tours for the museums. When you go to the museums, you will see various brochures. You roll over it, you place your camera there, you scan it, you see something about it, you watch a video about it. Now that is AR. We get to watch or read some information snippet about that is linked to the objects in the virtual world. Now, where is it most apt? AR is very frequently used in onboarding. Like in our case itself, we have successfully implemented an AR app in Encora. Let me take you through it once. Okay. So here, if you can see it. So here what happens is an employee comes in, they have already installed the app on their phone. Now they come in, they get their ID card. This is the initial process, and this is the first day. Now our objective was we want to make the newcomer feel at home. They, instead of us taking them through everything, they do it on their own. So they learn about Encora from the various markers that are placed inside the office. And it is also a little bit of gamified. So when you do certain actions, you get some scores, some points, and then you can get those points redeemed by meeting the HR. So like you say, here the person is logging in. You get some coins, she's in coins. So now if you can see, she's gonna scan the image and she'll get a question. She's answering the question and she gets more points. So it's a fun way of getting used to the environment. And so we have, if you look at it, we have textual graphical overlays used here. She moves in, we have also, so these markers are placed throughout and it guides them very slowly through our induction process. And then you can see it, we also have we also have a point where they meet one of the Encorians sitting there, they meet, click a picture, upload it, and then they earn more points. So that way, you are taking the initiative to go and meet your team member. And then this is more like an icebreaker. You take a few pictures, you upload them, you get some points, and then finally you go to your HR and collect your coupon from Starbucks. So this is how we did the onboarding thing in Encora, and it's a success. Like people who have gone through it have said that they had a great time. Now, another place where we can use this is in any technology related things. Like, for example, if we have a complicated like an ATM or maybe a chip, we can easily make it a marker, and the person can scan over it and then watch more details about it, like the one that I'm showing just now. So this is a chip. It has all the items are marked. So from a training perspective, it is easier, right? So you are not putting it in a WBT with all those hotspots and markers and all. Instead, you have the live thingy with you, and then you are actually seeing the thingy in AR. So that's how it works. You can go in detail and check it, 3D thing. Okay, so this is one more example. And then another one that I want to show is the soft skill. Now, AR is used a lot in the soft skill area because it's easier to sort of bring in an avatar, and you feel like you choose an avatar and then you're also interacting with an avatar, and you have, it gives more like a realistic feedback instead of, we just interacting with a faceless computer, which uses feedback. It can be more interactive and engaging. So let me open one of the soft skills as well. Okay. Hold on. So you open the app and you scan the ground surface from where. So you need to scan it, and then you have the two avatars there, and the avatars talk about it. And then throughout their conversation, they ask questions to you. For example, you're watching the situation, and then at the end of each conversation snippet, you get a question from them. I think I forwarded the video, that's why. Just give me a moment. Yeah. I think there's some issue with it. Pause it. So basically what I was trying to say is, in this soft skill part, so you have you have two avatars talking in real life, and the 3D characters, they can be real life characters, they talk, and then whatever issues that they are facing, they can throw a question at you, and based on how you respond, the scenario can continue. So again, you are seeing an actual real life situation in your environment. You can make mistakes and learn from it. Now, the best part of AR is you do not always need a special device to access it or enjoy it. Your most of the time your phone should be able to do that. Okay, though we have separate AR devices, but most of the trainings that we have created is can be worked out from our phone. Let's go to the next one, which is the VR part of it. Now, the VR actually, like we explained, okay, like AR is where you bring in the virtual objects into the real world. And then you still see the real world, but you can also see the virtual objects. That's how the AR works. Now, when it comes to VR, it is a completely virtual world. So you need special devices to access this virtual world. It completely replaces the reality. Now, Google Cardboard, Oculus Rift. So these are some of the devices that we usually use. Now, how the best part of VR is it takes the learners completely to a virtual world. So because this gives us the freedom to take the learners to another world completely, it's there are quite a many uses to it. Like most of the times you can use VR to teach any sort of safety related concept. So you can exactly show the entire safety issue in a virtual world, make the learners participate in it, interact with it, and show what happens if you do not follow the instructions. I mean, safety is the biggest concern. So one of the biggest concern, and we have found that virtual reality is very apt for that. We can also use them to, like, as simple as teaching a driver how to drive a car. So we can use VR for that also. Basically, it happens in a controlled environment. So the learners are able to perform complicated procedures, practice complicated steps, everything in a controlled virtual environment. This, because they are participating in an environment, the retention is also more. So let me give you a few examples again. So this is about the retail world. So here what we have done is we have built a 3D retail world, a 360 retail world, and you can go in, you can place the bottles. Basically, it is a gamified VR thingy. So you go there, you fill in the shelves and you get points. It's a timed game. You fill in within a time, you get certain points, and then the points are also tracked. So that way it can be, the complexity level of it can increase. So I'm just showing you an example. So arranging the display shelves. It has audio. So the person is wearing the VR devices. They're logging in because we are tracking the progress. So the names are tracked. Hence, you turn around and you see that world because you are in front of the ABC mat. You log in. So here are the details of the games. You get various stars. You need to aim for the gold star. And then you begin. So you're going inside the shop now. You can actually touch them, can feel them from inside. So here you have 2 cards. You pick one card, click on it. It says move to beverage section. So there is interaction happening. You're interacting in the environment. You're going to the beverage section now. And now you start filling the shelves. So we'll show how the person is watching it. So for him, he's actually picking it and placing it. So this is his hand. This is what he is seeing. He's taking the bottle and placing it. Taking a bottle, placing it. So this particular thing has a, we can use that for any technical training, like you want to repair, you want to teach the learners how to repair an equipment, you want to teach them how to install anything. So this VR would be a very good solution for that, because you can actually perform and learn. Now here again, you have the time limit is done, so you get a score, and you even get to see the scoreboard, like how many players have played. So this way, you can use this to create some very interesting training. Let me go back to my PPT. So this is in terms of retail. Now, like I said, safety is one of the best examples where we could use a VR word. So let me take you one instance where we have used it. Here again, because they distract. We are logging in. I think I paused it. Sorry. I can drag on the
workplace.
Okay.
Click next to proceed to a next step and teleport to the objective marker near the door.
So we have placed a marker near the door, and they get teleported to the location once they go there. This is the 360 world that we have built. So for a user, from a learner perspective, this is their actual world. They are going to be in front of such a building, and they are going to go there and do all these tasks. Getting teleported. Yeah, they say here is a problem statement. It says there's some problem with the electricity. Find out what's it causing in the circuit breakers. Now they go there and they perform it.
Check each circuit breaker panel and check if there is a live voltage.
If it's your hand, you're going there, you're getting teleported, you have the equipment there.
You got an electric shock. Use proper protective equipment to avoid electric shock.
If a person is performing this in real life, like, they have that VR devices and they're touching that and this electric shock happens, they will not forget it. And they'll definitely remember how to take care of this. So that is in terms of safety. Now we can also use it in technology and equipment. Let me just take you through that example as well. So here, what we have done is here are various parts of a machine, and the VR allows them to install it, bring them together and install it. So this is just a basic example, but we can use it in very complex machines like an ATM or even in aviation industries, that sort of equipment. So that's about VR. Now we move on to the next one, which is a combination of AR and VR, which is mixed reality. Now, a lot of mixed reality is the most immersive experience. Okay. Now, why it is the most immersive experience? Because we are bringing virtual objects into the physical world, and what we do in the physical world has an impact. Virtual world have an impact on the physical world as well. So it allows the learners to interact physically with the virtual world. So let me take you through an example so that will be easier to understand. So this is one of the examples that were used. The person is wearing a lens, so they go through it, they see how to this filter, how to change it. It clearly says what they should look for and how they should do it. Now, if the organization, if an organization has multiple branches, you want to train the people on how to install devices. This is best. This is one of the best. So And even for technicians, when they go there and do repair work, we could use that as well. And also, if there is any virtual meetings, you can come together, you can choose your avatar, come together, work on it. So MR is very impactful, and it provides the most immersive experience. And many of the games, everybody knows, right? So many of the games work with this principle. So that is about MR. Now, some of the best practices. So I have covered most of the immersive solutions. Now, the idea is, I'm not going in depth into each one of this, but the idea is to give you a basic understanding of what these are and where they can be used in a corporate learning setup. Now, what are some of the best practices that we should do, irrespective of the type of solution that we recommend or we use? First one is we need to do a thorough analysis of what exactly we want to do before arriving at a solution. So we should look at the business objectives. We should conduct an audience analysis. Like sometimes some of the organizations do not want to spend on VR devices, or do not, some maybe even believe that, there are certain health issues associated with, should we go for that? So these type of questions do come up. So have detailed discussion about it. Find out the technology readiness, to your client or whoever is going to use it. Also find out how much they are ready to spend, to set up the equipment, to set up the whole solution. What are they ready to invest now, and what they are looking for? What exactly is the business objective? So this thorough analysis is important. And once you find out that, okay, an AR might work, or maybe we are looking for MR solution, then start designing your solution. And when you're designing it, ensure that it incorporates intuitive and very user-friendly interaction. Do not consider the most complex people, but consider the simpler, and how fast a person can get into that environment and perform and learn. That should be the idea, instead of them searching for what needs to be done, to interact. So, and also think about realism in presentation. Like if you are presenting a 3D environment, the 3D environment must be as close to the real life as possible. So in terms of the content that is being presented, the visual part of it, the functional part of it, that realism is very important. And irrespective of the type of, immersive environment, the learners are going to interact with it. So whenever they interact, we should ensure that there are some timely feedbacks given, and always try to be as inclusive and accessible as possible. Consider all these components when we are designing a solution. And from a tracking perspective, and also from a future perspective, we need to update the content. What are certain aspects that need to be considered? So all these things you should consider when designing a solution. Now, okay, you have identified the solution. You have also considered all these things. Now you are ready to get started. But before going, all out and creating the whole solution, we should consider a pilot phase. Consider all the primary functionalities that must be included. And then when you create a pilot, run it through the entire, a considerable size of people if possible. Capture the feedback from both stakeholders and from the learners. Do not limit it to only the learners or from the stakeholders, but get it from all of them. And then whatever feedback we get, incorporated in the next delivery, in the next alpha, but consider the cost and effort impact, because sometimes it could be a very small feedback, but then it will have a cascading impact in the effort and timeline and plan. So consider all those things, and then always have a clear timeline in mind. Now, these are very generic standards, but we have found that following this helps us to ensure that we give the right solution and meet the timeline and the cost that our clients wish us to achieve. So, any questions? be more than happy to answer.
Hi, Danya.
Yes, David.
So we don't have any questions for this evening.
Okay, cool. Thank you
Thank
then.
you.
Thank you,
you so much.
everybody. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.